At 8 in the morning on a Tuesday, a steel column on the 21st floor of a Manhattan skyscraper begins to bend. Not crack, bend. Bricks peel off the facade and rain onto 42nd Street below. 5 floors of concrete sag inward like a hammock. Construction workers sprint for the stairwell while the frame groans and shifts around them, and by the time 130 firefighters reach the block, the building still hasn't stopped moving. 1 block from Grand Central Terminal, an entire neighborhood empties into the street. The first call hits the FDNY at 7:57 a.m., logged as falling debris, routine enough in a city where construction scaffolding sheds dust onto sidewalks every day. But when crews reach 235 East 42nd Street, they find something that rewrites the morning. 2 structural columns on the 21st and 22nd floors have buckled, their steel visibly deformed under loads they carried without complaint for 65 years. The floors above them, 5 full stories from the 21st to the 26th, are sagging under their own weight, cracking as gravity pulls the slabs downward into space. The columns no longer hold open. The FDNY chief calls it a potential localized collapse, which sounds controlled until you understand what it means. Entire sections of a 33-story tower pancaking inward, floor onto floor, with nothing beneath them but air and more failing steel. Rescue teams set up a frozen zone around the base and a collapse zone beyond that, pushing the perimeter outward because nobody can guarantee where the debris field ends if the building lets go. Drones fly up to the damaged floors because sending engineers inside is a gamble the city isn't willing to take. The footage streams back to structural teams on the ground who are watching a skyscraper decide in real time whether it wants to keep standing. 6 surrounding buildings empty within the hour. A Hampton Inn evacuates guests mid-checkout, luggage still in their rooms. 400 children file out of a nearby school onto 2nd Avenue while police tape seals off 2 full blocks of 42nd and 43rd Streets. Bus routes reroute. Pedestrian traffic vanishes from one of the busiest corridors in Midtown, and somewhere on the 21st floor behind steel that bends where steel should never bend, the building is still shifting. But the crisis didn't start this morning. It started the day someone decided to turn an office tower into an apartment building. The tower at 235 East 42nd Street went up in 1960, designed by Emery Roth and Sons, the same firm that helped shape the World Trade Center and the Pan Am building. It was built as Pfizer's global headquarters, a steel frame international style box rising 33 stories and 409 feet above Midtown, with floor slabs stretching nearly 200 feet wide. For over 6 decades, the building served one purpose: holding offices, conference rooms, and laboratories for a pharmaceutical giant that eventually outgrew it. Pfizer left for Hudson Yards in 2023, and the tower sat empty, a massive steel skeleton with nothing left inside it to justify the ground it occupied 1 block from Grand Central. Empty office towers in Manhattan don't stay empty for long when the city is short more than 500,000 housing units. Developer David Werner and Metro Loft Management, a firm that had already converted millions of square feet of obsolete commercial space into apartments across Lower Manhattan, bought control of the site and announced an audacious plan. The building and its adjacent 10-story neighbor, a cast-iron structure dating to 1905, would become 1,600 luxury apartments, the largest office-to-residential conversion in American history. Gensler, one of the biggest architecture firms on the planet, drew up the design. The old neighbor would be gutted, threaded with a new concrete core, and expanded to 29 stories. The main tower would get a rooftop pool, a fitness center, 100,000 square feet of amenities, and 400 affordable housing units built into the plan to qualify for the city's new tax incentive program. Madison Realty Capital backed the project with a $720 million construction loan, one of the largest conversion loans ever written in the United States. Interior demolition began in 2024, contractors pouring a new floor every 4 days to hit a 2027 completion target. The ambition was staggering, the financing was in place, and the clock was already running. Nobody involved used the word surgery, but that is exactly what the building was about to endure. An office building and an apartment building carry weight in fundamentally different ways, even when they share the same steel skeleton. An office tower concentrates its plumbing in a handful of central cores, runs its ductwork through wide-open ceiling cavities, and distributes the load of its occupants across vast, unbroken floor plates, where the heaviest thing in any given room is a filing cabinet. An apartment building asks for something entirely different. Every unit needs a kitchen, a bathroom, drainage, ventilation, hot and cold water lines. A single one-bedroom apartment requires 8 to 10 new penetrations through the floor slab for pipes, vents, and conduit. Scale that to 1,600 units across 33 stories, and the math turns violent. Thousands of new holes drilled, cut, and cored through a concrete and steel skeleton that was poured shut and welded tight in 1960. Each hole is a conversation with the structure. Cut in the wrong place, and you sever a path that stress has been traveling for decades. The floor slab doesn't know a renovation is underway. It only knows that something it was leaning on just vanished, and it begins searching for another route to send its weight downward. Steel is forgiving up to a point. It flexes, it redistributes, it finds alternative load paths, the way water finds cracks in a dam. But every redistribution narrows the margin. The columns that pick up the extra load weren't sized for it. The beams that absorb the new stress carry it to connections that were designed for a quieter life. Then there is the demolition itself. Gutting a skyscraper means stripping out interior walls, ripping out mechanical equipment, pulling apart ceilings and floor finishes that may have been contributing to the structure's stiffness for half a century. Some of that material was never counted as structural, but the building counted on it anyway, the way a body relies on muscles that no anatomy textbook considers essential until they're gone. Temporary shoring, massive steel or timber posts wedged between floors to hold the weight, while permanent supports are modified, must go in before anything comes out. The sequence is everything. Remove a column's fireproofing before the shoring is set, and the frame starts making decisions on its own. Decisions that travel at the speed of gravity and cannot be recalled. All of this is survivable with precise engineering, disciplined sequencing, and crews who understand what the steel is telling them. According to workers inside 235 East 42nd Street, the job had none of those things. The building had been shedding pieces of itself for over a year. In July 2025, a piece of window glass detached from the 8th floor and landed on a sidewalk shed below. The city's Department of Buildings fined the contractor, 235 GC LLC, $5,000. A month later, a metal panel peeled off the 33rd floor, fell the full height of the tower, and struck the sidewalk. That earned a $10,000 penalty and a temporary stop work order for the entire site. The order lifted. Work resumed. The building kept dropping things. By December, a worker had fallen 6 feet from a ladder while dismantling a crane on the site. The contractor was cited again, this time for failing to report the injury to the Department of Buildings within the required 3 days. In total, 235 GC LLC accumulated 7 violations and tens of thousands of dollars in fines across the 12 months leading up to July 7th. The building's DOB record carried 13 active violations and $39,000 in outstanding penalties, a paper trail that reads less like isolated mistakes and more like a structure slowly losing the attention of the people responsible for keeping it alive. Then the morning of the buckling, a union business agent from Steamfitters Local 638 stepped in front of cameras and said what the violation record only hinted at. Cliff Johnson told reporters his members had been working inside the building and watched the failure begin in real time. The general contractor, he said, chose to go non-union for the project. They did not shore up the job correctly. They did not add enough steel. And the columns on the 21st floor, the ones now holding up 5 sagging stories of a 33-story skyscraper in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, were bending like cigarettes. Johnson's accusation has not been confirmed by the ongoing investigation, and Metroloft has said only that it is working with the Department of Buildings to understand the full scope of the situation. But the violated columns don't need a spokesperson. Steel that bends tells its own story. And 235 East 42nd Street is not the only building in Manhattan being asked to survive this kind of transformation. Right now, across Manhattan, roughly 90 office towers are in some stage of being gutted, reframed, and reborn as apartment buildings. Before the pandemic, conversion activity averaged under 1.2 million square feet a year, a handful of aging buildings quietly switching lives in Lower Manhattan where nobody was paying attention. By 2024, the number had nearly tripled to 3.3 million square feet. By August 2025, it hit 4.1 million. Developers had plans to start another 9.5 million square feet of conversions in 2026 alone, a volume that would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. The wave isn't building gradually. It arrived all at once. The forces behind it are enormous, and they all push in the same direction. Manhattan's office vacancy rate sits above 22%, more than double pre-pandemic levels, and some of those empty towers have lost nearly half their value since 2019. Meanwhile, the city needs over 500,000 new housing units, and rents hover near record highs. In 2024, the state enacted a tax incentive program called 467M, offering up to 35 years of property tax relief for conversions that include affordable housing. Zoning reforms lifted a 1961 cap that had blocked most post-war office buildings from becoming residential. The city cleared the regulatory path. The market cratered office values to the point where conversion math finally worked, and billions in construction loans flooded in behind the opportunity. Every one of those projects faces the same structural gamble. An aging commercial frame, designed for a world of open floor plans and centralized plumbing, asked to absorb thousands of new penetrations, new load patterns, and new demands while contractors race against loan clocks measured in months, not years. The conversion wave doesn't move at the speed of careful engineering. It moves at the speed of debt service, and debt does not wait for a shoring crew to finish before the next phase begins. Dozens of skyscrapers across the city are undergoing the same surgery that buckled the columns at 235 East 42nd Street, all of them betting that their steel will hold. Back on 42nd Street, the only bet that matters is whether one building has stopped moving. As of Tuesday afternoon, drones are still circling the 21st floor because the building won't let anyone back inside. Engineers study the footage remotely, reading the steel's body language through a camera lens, while the city waits for shoring crews to arrive with temporary posts that can catch the weight before it travels any further downward. Until those posts are in place, the building holds itself up on whatever margin of strength remains in a frame that has already shown it is willing to bend. The investigation will trace the sequence, which elements were removed, in what order, and whether temporary supports were standing when load-bearing components were cut. In a conversion this complex, the margin between control and collapse is measured in hours and inches. One missed step, and gravity finds the gap before anyone can close it. Every skyscraper is a negotiation between gravity and the people who think they can outsmart it. There is one building in Manhattan where engineers discovered a single flaw could bring the whole tower down in a hurricane, and the city welded reinforcements through the night while thousands slept above. Subscribe so you don't miss that one.